All right, day 4. All right, so we did finding midpoints last time, right? What fraction of the whole segment do you get when you find a midpoint? Yes?
1/2.
1/2, okay? So here, I'm telling you to find the coordinates of the midpoint M. So just so you know, think of that, oh, my fraction is halfway. Now, if I go halfway between A and B, does it matter which end I start at? Or do you get to the midpoint the same way both ways?
Yes. Same way.
Yeah. If it's in the middle, it's the same distance from both ends. So it doesn't matter if you start at one end or the other end. We like midpoints. They're the simple version that makes us not want to cry. So let's see how we would do this, if you remember. Okay? So I know my endpoints are A and B, and I know I have midpoint M. So I'm going to start putting some ordered pairs in here. A was at 9, 5, and B was at 17, 4. And now we're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember this. And so then you ask yourself, I'm trying to go halfway across between these guys. How far would it be to get from A to B? How would you find that? How would I find the distance from A to B? I'd subtract them. What is 17 minus 9? 8. Well, sorry. Poor people getting the recording are having a freak out. Okay, so that's 8. Oh, no, don't write that. Because that's not where it is. The distance I went was 8. Which direction did I go? Up 8. So I started at 9, I went up 8 to get to 17. Does that make sense? But I want the midpoint. So for the midpoint, I need to go half of 8 to get up to my midpoint. So how much is half of 8?
4.
Which direction will I be going? Up. So I'm going to add 4 to my 9 to get to just the midpoint. And where do I land when I add 4 to 9? 13. Does it seem to make sense that 13 is halfway in between 9 and 17? Okay, cool. How far is it from 5 to 4?
1.
It's 1. Did I go up 1 to get from 5 to 4, or did I go down 1?
Down.
When you go down, put a negative. And then you think, I want the midpoint. So I want to go half of that negative 1. Which is how far? It's negative half, or negative 0.5, some of you who default to decimals. So I know I need to go down 1/2 from 5 to get to my midpoint. What is 5 take away 1/2?
4.5.
4.5, or 4.5 for those of you who like the decimals. Now you check, does it make sense that 4.5 is halfway between 5 and 4? Why did I do the babyish one first? Because it's going to get harder. Okay? So, let's see what it looks like if I don't do the midpoint and I do some other fraction that's not 1/2. Gasp! So number 2, we're going to try going 3/4 the distance somewhere. Now, if I'm thinking about 3/4 of the distance from me to Trin, does it matter which way I'm going when I calculate the 3/4? Because if I go 3/4 of the way from me to her, who will I be closer to? Her, because I've gone most of the way. But what if I want, what's 3/4 of the distance from Trin to me? Who am I closer to now? Me. So for anything other than 1/2, direction matters. Exclamation mark. So, which direction am I going in problem 2 here?
Towards B.
From A to B. So when I set up my chart, guess which one you really want to go first?
A.
A. So I'm going to put A first, and then I'm going toward B. And A is at -8, -7, and B is at +8, +5. And what point am I trying to go to? But yeah, they told me find the coordinates of P. Is P halfway? Of course not, that would be too simple. So we think, oh, okay, what is my full distance from A to B? From -8 all the way up to +8. It's 16, so I went up 16. When I go to point P, am I going to go the full 16? No. I'm going to go 3/4 of 16. Remember, of means times. And so you have to know how to multiply your fractions. Remember, multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and simplify. Or you can cross-cancel. Or you can use a calculator. And what do you get is 3/4 of 16. It's 12. So I know the distance I want to go here is only going to be 12. Am I going up or down? I'm still going up. So it's adding 12 here. So starting at -8, how far would I go if I only go 12? Where would I end up at? You end up at +4. And oh look, it is closer to the other end because I went 3/4 of the way. So it seems to make sense because y'all told me to go 3/4 of the way. I should be closer to the far end. Let's try now with the y values. How far did I go to get from -7 to +5? It's 12. Am I going up or down? Up. Because if you had done -7 minus you might end up with a negative number. So ignore that. Distance is always positive, and then the sign tells you your direction. So we're going up 12. Oh, but I don't want to go up 12. I only want to go 3/4 of 12 to get to this spot here. So somebody figure out what 3/4 of 12 is. Is it 9?
Yeah.
3, 6, 9, 12? Yeah, that makes sense. So I need to go up 9 to get to my point P. And so if I go up 9 from -7, where do I land? I heard 3 and 2. Which is it?
2.
It is 2. So my point P is at 4, 2. What steps did I take in both of these? We want to write down steps so we always remember what to do. So what's the first thing I always did on these? I made my table, and then I find the distance between the x's and the distance between y's. And in fancy math terms or lazy terms, you can just say delta x and delta y. Needs a Cerna. Okay? So you ought to find those. And your direction. Because what does the direction tell you? Which sign to use. So always make sure you know which way you're going, up or down. Then, once we knew our distance on both of these, once we knew our full distance, how did we find our fractional distance? We multiplied our full distance by the fraction. So So you multiply your distances by your fraction. And then once we found our distances, here I found 4 and negative 1/2. Here I found 12 and 9. Once I found my fractional distances, what did I do?
You added them to the original number.
I add them back to the original starting point. So add the fractional distance to the starting point. So that's just a little reminder as you get going on these of how to do it, but hopefully as you get going, it's going to make sense to you and you won't need to refer back to this so much. Yes? No. Since you're just learning this today, it will not be on today's quiz. The midpoint stuff we already did on the homework, it will be on the quiz. Okay? Good question. I like it. So for number 3, does number 3 kind of look familiar? What's it look like?
Number 2.
It looks like number 2. What's the only difference? I'm going from B to A. So when I find my point, is it going to be in the same spot? It's not. So don't assume. Let's work it out. So remember, put your starting point first. So this time I'm starting at B. I'm going to A. So I'm going from 8.5 to negative 8, negative 7. Okay? What is the name of that point that's 3/4 of the way from B to A?
R.
Why is it a different letter? It's at a different spot. P was up at 4 too. Let's find where R is. We're pirates now. R. Okay? But are my endpoints the same? Are these the same 2 endpoints?
Yes.
So is the distance still the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I do negative 8 and positive 8, they're still 16 across. So I could do the work, but I happen to know they're the same distance. What's going to change here? Why is it negative? I'm going from a positive all the way down to a negative. So I'm going down 16. And on this side, how far down did I go for the whole distance? I went down 12. There, down 12. What fraction am I going? I'm still going 3/4. So I'm going to do 3/4 of the negative 16 and 3/4 of the negative 12. What is 3/4 of negative 16? It's negative 12. What's 3/4 of negative 12?
Negative 9.
Negative 9. See how, if you want to be lazy and use old numbers, you're totally welcome to it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So I know that for this part, I need to go down 12. And for this part, I need to go down 9 from my starting value. So where do I end up for the x value of r? I'm sorry? I didn't hear? I started at 8, I go down 12,
Negative 4.
you end up at negative 4. When you start at 5 and go down 9, where do you end up at?
Negative 4.
So point R is at negative 4, negative 4.
Easy.
You did not just say the E word. Now we have to make it harder.
That was the beginning.
So see, our points were in different places depending on where we started. Now we got to make it harder. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. You're awesome.
No problem.
Okay? So for this guy, I'm going in a ratio of 2 to 1. What fraction do you think I'm going across when I go from A to be? What's my fraction going to be? Okay, let's see. Caleb?
Wait, yeah. 2/3?
Oh, we're at thirds?
Wait.
Where are we getting thirds from? How many of you are totally lost by now? Yeah, the ratio means something different. What the ratio means is I've got 2 parts on one side of my point and 1 part on the other side of my point. Which point? Well, of course, point T that's dividing me up. And you're like, well, wait a minute. If I have 2 parts and 1 part, how many parts total is that? 3 parts. I am really dividing my segment into 3 parts. So I'm going to come here. It starts at A and goes to B, and I'm really dividing it into 3 parts. When I find point T, see how the 2 is first and the A is first. So these 2 parts are on the closer side to A, and the 1 part is going to be closer to B. Where's T?
The third point from the left.
Yeah, T is at the spot where you've got 2 parts on one side and 1 part on the other, a ratio of 2 to 1. Do you see how where the 2 and the 1 came from?
Yes.
Now you have to be able to figure out the fraction. What is my fraction that I move to get to point T? It's 2 parts out of 3. That's my fraction. So the first number in your ratio is your numerator, because I want to go 2 parts. But your denominator, you have to think what's the total number of parts, and it's going to be what you get when you add them, the 2 and the 1. Okay? Sorry, I keep pushing it up too high. Forgive me. Oh no, I am not being forgiven. The world may come to a drastic and sudden end. Now, this is just the same type of problem we did before, so we can set up our table, find our distances, and use our fraction. So I'm going to have, let's see, my x's and my y's. I've got point A and point B with T in between. And let's see, A is at -3, -4, and B is at 0, 8. And so you have to do the whole thing. Your first step, what is my total distance from A to B on the x side? It's 3. Which direction are you going from -3 up to 0? I'm adding. What about on the y's? I'm going from +4 to -8. Up how far? From -4 up to +8.
12.
I go up 12. So now to figure out my fractional distances, am I going to go as far as these? Am I going to go the full distance to get to T? Of course not. So you think, okay, my fraction is 2/3 of this. So I need 2/3 of the 3, and I need 2/3 of the 12 to find these 2 distances. What is 2/3 of 3?
2.
Wow, y'all are so brilliant. So I go up 2. What's 2/3 of 12? Next victim. Yes. Is it 8?
Yes.
4, 8, 12? Yep. 8 sounds right. So I would go up 8. Now all you have to do is add. If I started at -3 and go up 2, where do I end up at? I end up at -1. If I started at -4 and go up 8, where do I land? +4. So t is at -1, 4. It is the 2/3 the distance, a ratio of 2 to 1. So for number 5, I'm going to divide CD. My point E is what I'm looking for. Okay. What fraction will I go if my ratio is 2 to 3? It's 2 to 3. Write down your answer so that you can't cheat and tell me you had it right all along. What fraction do you think the ratio of 2 to 3 is going to give you? And then I'm going to pick a victim because too many people are not raising hands and I've got to make everybody suffer. So let's see. Hey, you do exist. Have a seat. I'll probably just have to give you the notes because you've missed most of them. You'll watch this video. So, okay, let's see. Alec, what do you think?
1/5.
He thinks it's 1/5. Okay, is he partially right?
Partially.
He is partially right because if I have 2 parts here and 3 parts here, how many parts total? 5. So I know I'm out of 5. When I'm going from C to D, how many parts do I move first? So I'm going 2 of those 5. Okay, so you were partially there. Good for you. Not bad. Okay, so then can I follow the same steps as before to get my fractional distances and find point E? Yeah. Do you feel like doing it?
Yes.
So I heard 1 yes and like 4 no's. You would still set up your X and Y. You're going to have C, D, E's in the middle. You're starting at -3, -4. You're going to 2, 6. So my total distance from -3 to 2 is what? Up 5?
Yes.
And my total distance from -4 to +6 is up 10? What? Somebody said the E word. Okay. What fraction am I going, Alec?
2/5.
2/5. So I need to go 2/5 of 5, and I need to go 2/5 of 10. So how far is 2/5 of 5? It's 2. Yes?
We have a calculator on the quiz.
Yeah?
Okay.
And what's 2/5 of 10 going to give me?
4.
4. So here I'm going to go up 4. So I'm going to end up at -1, 0 for point E.
Simple.
So guys, remember, direction matters. If you go the wrong direction, you're going to get it wrong. So pay attention. Here we were going from C to D. Okay? Now, put that up. Clear off.
Should I put in my homework?
Quiz.